Hey guys, what's going on? In today's video, I'm going to give you a complete 10-minute crash course on Shopify Customizer, or essentially everything that you see here. So we'll talk about basically headers, we'll talk about hero sections, we'll talk about the buttons, or as we call them in a fancy way, CTAs or call to actions. And we'll also talk about a bit more complex topic, like for example here, the sections, and also the blocks that are within the sections, okay? So how to customize them, how to edit them, and what they really are, and what the hell are they even supposed to do or mean, guys, if you are a complete beginner. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So this entire thing right here is called Shopify Customizer. This is where you're going to be editing and customizing your Shopify store. I'm not going to dive into creating products, collection pages. If you guys want to learn that, check out our previous videos. I'm covering all of that in detail. But essentially everything you see here on the screen is called a Shopify Customizer, because this is where you're going to be customizing your Shopify's front end, or whatever people or customers see once they land on your homepage, collection page, product page, and other pages, guys. So let's start from the top. You can customize every page individually in a sense. So right now we are on the home page, but you can choose the collection page or product page from the drop-down menu here. You can select the product page, click on product, and click on default product. You can create custom product templates if you want to, because the way Shopify works, if you customize the, for example, template of this product page right here, it's going to apply the same pages, it's going to apply the same changes across all the Shopify products. Obviously that doesn't apply to titles and descriptions. That more applies to things like, for example, these sections here. So if I add, for example, image banner on this default product template, it's going to be seen and applied across all of your Shopify products. It's just basically how Shopify works. If you want to avoid that, you need to create a custom product template. It doesn't really come with any of Shopify themes, or you can use something called a page builder. And then you can choose between all other pages. You have collections, right? Then you have all other pages, for example, like contact, custom pages, or whatever the page is going to create, checkout, cart, and etc, guys. Okay, so let's go back to our homepage and let's talk about the elements here. So the first element here, we have a announcement bar, or essentially it's a section. So everything in Shopify is a section. So this section is called announcement bar because we are announcing store-wide news for your Shopify store. It can be free shipping on orders over 50, or it can be Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal, 50% off site-wide, XYZ. So essentially, this is used to announce any type of promotion or important information across your website. And usually you can customize, you can add like social icons, you can add, language selectors. It's pretty cool, especially if you're using a fully flexible and fully customizable Shopify theme like I'm using here with the Beautify, guys, okay? So then we're gonna move on to a header. So a header essentially helps your users to navigate between the pages. So you can go from homepage to collection page, from collection page to product page, right? You can have a mega menu, you can link it to different pages. So essentially it's a navigation. It helps your customers to move from point A to point Z using this navigation bar right here, or header, okay? You can also add like other elements, like for example, customer accounts, or also one of the most important elements obviously is the cart. You can see the cart icon because that reminds people that there is something in the cart, okay? And that is also placed in the header here. So if you want to open your cart, just go to the cart icon, and you're gonna have the cart drawer that's gonna open up by default, or it's gonna bring you to cart page, depending on how you set it up. Again, we're not gonna talk about the complexities. We're just doing a crash course on the elements and sections as a whole. All right, then we have these custom sections. This is essentially a scrolling banner, but again, guys, don't break your head. Everything in Shopify is a section, okay? So let's kind of talk about in depth exactly what it is a section. I guess I'll talk about the hero section because that's kind of the easiest one. So if I click here on the slideshow, that's gonna be a section block in a sense, right? But it's not the same as these blocks right here. So it's a section block in a sense that everything in Shopify is a section block because you can drag and drop them in a sense. So I can literally take this and pull it up here, or I guess lower here. So that's how easy it is to customize your Shopify store if you want to change like, where it's placed on your Shopify store or certain page. So this section, okay, this is a slideshow section. And the sections have their own settings. So once you click on a section, you're gonna have these settings for each of the sections. So here we have basically, properties like changing the size of the section, adjusting it to look different on mobile or look slightly different on the desktop. Or for example, for desktop, you wanna have a image A, and for mobile specifically, you want to have a different image because you want to tailor the experience based on the device segment, okay? So these are basically section settings, which will be always shown on the right side right here. All right, guys, that's essentially for section level stuff. And then each of the sections will have blocks, right? So blocks are these right here. So these are literally building blocks of the section, right? So these can be subtitles, it can be title, it can be a CTA button or click to action button, or just we can call them a button if you want to. So you can customize them individually because everything is split into individual block. And that's kind of the beauty of Shopify 2.0 because everything is split into blocks and you can customize each of the blocks individually without being a developer, which used to be a problem back in the days when we didn't have these blocks, yet. So you can customize everything individually, and as a beginner, you don't need to really think about these things as a block. Just really kind of, have this mental image of what it means. But you can either customize it by clicking on the block here. Then you're gonna have all these options here. So for example, you guys can see sweater collection, same thing. Either I can change it here, sweater collection 1, 2, 3, and that will dynamically reflect here. Or I can just click on it like this and I can just change it directly from the section, okay? But that can get messy, I don't suggest that. Always make sure that you make changes from here, guys, okay? It's just easier and keeps things clean and tidy. And essentially the same structure will be applied and present across all the sections. So for example, I can even do featured collection section here, right? If I scroll down here. So it looks a bit more complex, but essentially it's just showing all the Shopify products that you have assigned to this collection. That's why there's more items, but essentially this is being shown based on the amount of products that you have in that collection specifically, right? But again, same structure, we have the section, we have section level options and settings on the right side, a little bit more. You can customize the colors, you can customize, each element color individually, right? Custom color schemes, different, spacing, padding, so many different things without being a developer. So you can just play around with them and you're gonna get a really nicely designed featured collection without being a developer, guys. Pretty awesome stuff. So again, everything is split into the same structure. So section, and then we have the blocks, which is basically the heading. It's a block for the heading. Then we have the best selling, also the heading block itself, or the title block. And then we have the description block, which is basically this description block right here, which gives you this text right here. Again, if you want to change it, just literally say something like 1, 2, 3, and the change will reflect dynamically pretty much instantly, guys. Okay, that's the beauty of doing edits live in Shopify. And again, just to prove you guys the point, if I open double image banner, which is basically this right here, the same structure, we have the section, settings right here, and the blocks basically based on the elements, okay? Everything is individually customizable because that's the beauty also of using the Beautify theme. Everything is split out into elements and blocks that you can easily customize without being a developer. All right, guys, and then we have the footer section. I think that's kind of what the core section we want to talk about in our last 2 minutes. So if I click on the footer, we have a couple options. Just a couple of things to note. For example, a couple of menu items are coming directly from Shopify. If I click on the menu, you guys can see the only option I hear is menu. And if you want to replace that, you can only replace them with the menus that you create in Shopify under content settings and then navigation. But again, if you guys will learn more about that, check out all other videos on Shopify, the customization and store building. So this has to be set in the backend of the Shopify from the content and then under the navigation menu. But again, very similar structure, guys. You guys can see everything is split into the blocks, right? So each of these ones, that's a block, okay? You can customize it, you can change the layout, you can change the grid, the way you want to present it. So if I click on a footer here, I can essentially change how the layout looks, for example, guys, okay? So I can add maybe a bit of spacing on the top or on the bottom if I want to, guys, or I can kind of change the amount of the space in terms of the grid to change how these cards are presented here, for example. And to do that, I'm gonna click on the blocks, on this block right here, and I'm gonna change the column width here. And you guys are gonna see it's gonna make it wider, or I can make it really small, which is obviously not ideal. This just looks kind of strange. So we can do something like maybe 2, okay? And just gonna make it a bit more compact, okay? So if you wanna maybe have more cards with more information in the footer section, you can do that, right? You can also, have like blocks like these with email subscriptions, and you can customize your footer really in any way that you want. You guys can see it's really flexible. You can change colors. alignment, right? You can change the headings for SEO purposes if you want to, guys, and all the paddings and margins are also available here from the settings in the footer settings. And you guys, don't forget to also always preview your changes in the mobile. Like, really important. I can't stress that enough, because 70% of DTC traffic is coming from mobile devices. So make sure when you're making these changes, they look nice on a mobile device, okay? Because most of the people are not coming off desktop. There's some exceptions, for example, for for tech stuff, for gaming brands, right? Because obviously gamers are playing on desktop mostly. So you need to kind of know your audience. But if you are in DTC, in kind of general niches like fashion, or maybe like, you're selling supplements, or maybe you're selling, dog or pet accessories, that traffic is definitely coming from mobile devices, 70% of it at least, guys, okay? So definitely make sure to always optimize mobile first and desktop secondary. Okay, guys, and that wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, because that helps the channel grow and helps me to push out more videos on a weekly basis, so you get to learn something new about Shopify and how to customize and work with Shopify as a beginner, guys. And as always, I'm gonna wish you success in building your Shopify business, and I'm gonna see you next time.